Sorry, you can just go on to speaker view.
Okay. Yeah. Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bhed Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Sadashiv Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om. Let's take a sankalp. Okay. So after completing the study of Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, and Jnana Yoga, after having a fair idea about what all these three sadhanas mean, we are now looking into Bhakti Yoga. And we already saw 6 different types of bhaktis, right? We saw the bhakti in which we look at God as Sukh Sadhanam or Sukham, or God as non-different from self. Then we saw the second category where we looked into Karma Yoga Rupa Bhakti, then Upasana Yoga Rupa Bhakti, and Jnana Yoga Rupa Bhakti. Now we will look into Bhakti based on our understanding of Ishvara. Not what we want from Ishvara, but our understanding from of what is Ishvara. So here we will revise the topic of God once again. Remember, we had spoken about Ishvara in the beginning only. We'll revise that topic once again, because when we talk about bhakti, so bhakti is what? It is love or devotion towards God. And without clear understanding of the principle of God, how can we discuss the topic of devotion? Because the object of love, it is the most integral part of love, right? In fact, we cannot develop love towards anybody unless we know that person, unless we understand what that is. Okay, we cannot love an unknown thing, right? If we don't know anything about something, we cannot fall in love with that person. We cannot love an unknown person. So we cannot talk of love of God without the knowledge or understanding of God. So if you remember, we had seen 3 definitions of God. These were the 3 definitions of God that we had seen. First, so in Sanskrit, I'll tell you, God as Jagat Karta. That was the first definition. God as Jagat Karta. Second was God as Jagat Karanam. And third was God as Jagat Adhishthanam. In English, if we see, Jagat Karta means the creator of the world. That was the first stage of understanding. Then Jagat Karanam, the second stage of understanding, means God himself becomes the world. God as the Upadana Karana and the Nimitta Karanam, means the intelligent cause of this universe as well as the material cause of this universe. Right? So this is the second stage of understanding. God as Jagat Karanam. And God as Jagat Adhishthanam, that is the third stage of understanding. Jagat Adhishthanam means God as the substratum of this creation, as the substratum of this universe. So in this stage of understanding, we know that God, it is the Adhishthanam, is the substratum of the whole creation, and he just appears as this world. So in the first stage of understanding, we see God as one form. Okay, Ekaroop, that is the first stage of understanding. Here we are in love with one form of God, right? Our �ဣ𝐴𝐵𝐻. Immense bhakti, immense reverence, immense devotion for that one form of Ishvara. Ekaroop Ishvara Bhakti. Okay, that happens in the first stage of understanding. That one form of God, okay, that �ဣෂ්ඨ-devata of ours is just a symbol of the limitless Ishvara. And this one form of God, it just helps us to focus. It helps us to focus at the time of prayers, at the time of puja. It helps us in doing Saguna Upasana Yoga. It is a Saguna Bhakti. Because God, we see God with all the attributes, with all the gunas, right? Our �ဣෂ්ඨ-devata may have any attributes, right? Shankh Chakra Gadadhari or any attributes. So we see God as Saguna Ishvara. So our bhakti is also Saguna Bhakti and Ekarupa Bhakti. Then the second stage of understanding is Anekarupa Bhakti, where Ishvara, we see Ishvara as everything in this universe. Right? So with this understanding, what do we enjoy? In the first understanding, we were enjoying Ekarupa Bhakti. Here, in the second understanding, we enjoy Vishwarupa Bhakti. At all times, the understanding that every sentient and insentient thing in this creation is nothing but Ishvara himself. And this Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakti, that also helps in Karma Yoga. And finally, after Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakti, we reach a stage of Arupa Ishvara Bhakti. We don't need any forms for Bhakti. We don't need any attributes associated with the Lord to do Bhakti, to focus on the Lord, to fall in love with Ishvara. So the formless God is the final stage of understanding, where I do Nirguna Bhakti in the form of Nididhyasanam. Nididhyasanam, that is meditation. Meditation on what? On Jagat Adhishthanam Brahman, the consciousness principle, the Chetan Tattva, which we'll see as Satchid Ananda Brahman. This is Arupa Bhakti, without any gunas, Nirguna Bhakti. So, here I just want to remind you that when our understanding grows, okay, from the beginner level of Jagat Karta Ishvara then to Jagat Karana Ishvara, then to Jagat Adhishthanam Ishvara. When our understanding grows from one level to other, the higher understanding, it does not displace the lower one. Okay. So matlab jaise hum if we are doing Jnana Yoga, if we are practicing Jnana Yoga, we understand Arup Ishvara Bhakti totally. We can enjoy Arup Ishvara Bhakti totally. But that does not mean that we have to stop doing our Ishta Devata Bhakti. We can still continue. It does not displace that. It does not displace the Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakti. Okay, it only adds another dimension to it. So even after we understand what is Satchidananda Brahman, even after the knowledge, we can still enjoy Ishta Devata Bhakti, that is Ekrup Ishvara Bhakti. We can still totally enjoy Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakti along with Satchidananda Brahman Bhakti. Okay. So this is Bhakti Yoga. We'll quickly consolidate the whole thing, okay? Because we have seen 9 forms of Bhakti so far. So it could get a little confusing. So we'll quickly consolidate all the forms of Bhakti that we saw, okay? So the first 3 types of Bhakti, forms of Bhakti that we saw are, first was Artha Artharthi Bhakti. Artha Artharthi Bhakti. In Artha Artharthi Bhakti, we see Ishvara as a means, as an instrument to gain something or to be free of some dukkham, some pain. So we are seeing Ishvara as Sukha Sadhanam or Dukkha Nivrutti Sadhanam in Artha Artharthi Bhakti. Then second was Jignasu Bhakti. In Jignasu Bhakti, or we also called it Mumukshu Bhakti, in that we just want to attain Ishvara. Okay, we just want moksha. So that is Jignasu Bhakti. Because there we see Ishvara not as a Sukha Sadhanam, but we see Ishvara only as Sukham. So we want to attain Ishvara. We want to attain that moksha. That is Jignasu Bhakti or Mumukshu Bhakti. And the third one was Jnani Bhakti. Jnani Bhakti, that is where we understand Ishvara as ourselves, non-different from our own self. That is called Jnani Bhakti. So these first 3 types of Bhakti, they are called Bhavna Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. Bhavna. Bhavna means what is our attitude towards Ishvara? What is the intensity of our love towards Ishvara? So our bhakti is based on that bhavna. So these 3 are called Bhavna Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. Then we talked about the other 3 categories. That is Karma Yoga Rupa Bhakti, Upasana Yoga Rupa Bhakti, and Jnana Yoga Rupa Bhakti. So here we are looking at Bhakti from the standpoint of the sadhana that we have undertaken, from the standpoint of the course of discipline that we have undertaken, right? So it is called Sadhana Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. Whether right now are we following Upasana Yoga, or is Karma Yoga our predominant sadhana, or is Jnana Yoga our predominant sadhana? So based on our sadhana, we look at Ishvara. Our bhakti is based on our sadhana. Okay. So their bhakti is nothing but the atmosphere, the environment which is required to follow this course of discipline, which we are taking up to attain our spiritual goal. So this is Sadhana Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. And finally, we talked about Ekrupa Bhakti, Anekarupa Bhakti, and Arupa Bhakti. This depends on our understanding of Ishvara. And so it is called Devta Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. Okay. So Sadhana Drishtya, then Bhavna Drishtya, and Devata Drishtya Bhakti Trayam. Okay. So this word Bhakti, it is used in all these meanings. Okay. 9 different contexts we saw. In all these meanings, the word Bhakti is used. So whenever we talk about Bhakti, we should understand the context and grasp the meaning. Okay. So this is Bhakti Yoga. So with this, we finish the topic of Bhakti Yoga. Also, just understanding of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So to summarize all the sadhanas that we have seen so far, quickly in just one slide, very briefly, like a formula, if you want to just remember. So then, in very, very simple words, moksha can be attained only and only through self-knowledge. Okay. And self-knowledge can be attained only through Jnana Yoga. So moksha can be attained through self-knowledge, that is Atma Jnanam, and Atma Jnanam can be attained only through Jnana Yoga. But in order to qualify for Jnana Yoga, okay, in order to qualify, in order to be adhikari for that Jnanam, for Atma Jnanam, for self-knowledge, we have to go through preparatory steps. And which are the preparatory steps that we have seen? Firstly, we saw the values, that is the yamas, the niyamas, the pancha mahayagnas. Okay, those have to be our nitya karmas. Then the second preparatory step was karma yoga, the sadhana of karma yoga. Karma yoga, remember, Ishvara Arpana Bhavna and Prasad Bhavna. So doing Nishkama Karma, doing Sattvic Karma with the attitude of Ishvara Arpanam and Prasad Bhavna. That is Karma Yoga. And Upasana Yoga, another important preparatory step. Upasana Yoga was disciplining all the 3 aspects of our personality. The Kayika, Vachika, and Manasa Amsha. And all these sadhanas together, they are the preparatory steps. And all these sadhanas done with immense bhakti, they qualify you for Jnana Yoga. So you understood the whole process, what we have to do, how we have to go about it. So with this, we finish a very, very important, we cross a very important milestone of our study. We started with a complete background study, right? We started with all the, looking at so many background things, background topics, right? Then we came into the preparatory topics, which are the sadhanas. And after looking at the sadhanas, now we are finally ready to enter actual Vedanta. So far, this was all only background study. We have not entered actual Vedanta. Only now we can enter actual Vedanta, because now we are kind of clear about this background knowledge. Okay. And with this, we finish almost, we are through with almost 3/4 of our course. So congratulations to all of you who are still there. All right. So we'll start with the new topic now. Are there any questions so far regarding Bhakti Yoga, regarding any of the sadhanas?
Nothing as of now, but if something comes up, can we just set it in the chat message box?
Sure, yeah. So, yes. Now, when we enter into actual Vedanta, no, the first thing that we need to study is the analysis of the microcosm, analysis of the individual. Individual means what we call as I, myself. Okay. So it is called Jeeva Vichaara or Vyashti Vichara in Sanskrit. Individual Jeeva Vichara or the analysis of the microcosm. Okay, we call it Vyashti Vichara or Jeeva Vichara in Sanskrit. Now there are several methods of analyzing the individual. The Shastra itself gives several methods of analyzing the individual. And the first one that we will look into, that is called Shareera Trayam. Shareera Trayam. Trayam means threefold, team. And Shareera means body. So Shareera Trayam means the three bodies of an individual. So now obviously you might be like, what? 3 bodies? We have 3 bodies? Like we find it difficult to take care of one body itself. And now the Shastra is telling us that we have 3 bodies. But I just see one. So where are the other 2 bodies? So which are our 3 bodies? Let's look into that. Here. So these are our 3 bodies. First is the Sthoola Shareeram. Sthoola Shareeram means the gross body, the physical body. Okay, Sthoola, the gross, the physical body. Second is the Sukshma Shareeram. Sukshma Shareeram is the subtle body. And third is the Karana Shareeram. Karana Shareeram or causal body, not casual body. Okay, causal, cause. Karan means cause. So causal body. The Sthoola Shareeram or the gross body, Sukshma Shareeram, which is the subtle body, and Karana Shareeram, which is the causal body. This is a very important topic, Jeeva Vichara, because we really, that is the most fundamental question, right? Who am I? Who am I? It's like the most fundamental question, and understand, like analyzing the Jeeva will answer that question. So these are the 3 bodies. Now, these 3 bodies, in order to properly understand them, we'll analyze each of these 3 bodies based on 4 factors. Okay. So we will look into each of the body based on, firstly, what is the material that each body is made out of? That is, what is the raw material of this body? कुछ भी चीज बनने के लिए एक raw material लगता है ना? So what is the raw material for each of these bodies? The second factor is, what are the components or what are the parts out of which a particular body is made? Third factor for analyzing these 3 bodies we'll use is function. What is the purpose? What is the function? What is the job of each body? And finally, we'll look into what is the nature of all these 3 bodies. Okay? So let us look into each of these 3 bodies. We'll analyze all these 3 bodies in complete detail using these 4 factors. Okay, raw material, components, function, and nature. Okay. So let us start with the Sthoola Shareera. So using the same 4 factors, let us start with what is the material of the Sthoola Shareera. So what is the Sthoola Shareeram made of? So सबसे पहले Sthoola Shareeram or gross body means this physical body of ours. Okay, this physical body which we can touch, which we can feel, that means that is the Sthoola Shareera. What is this Sthoola Shareeram made of? Shastra points out that this gross body, it is made of gross matter. Matter means padarth. Okay, physical matter, which in turn is made up of 5 gross elements. Elements like something like the chemistry elements. Like if we say that the salt, okay, that we use in our kitchen, that we eat, that salt is sodium chloride. That salt is matter. It is sodium chloride. That matter is made up of 2 elements, which are sodium and chlorine. Correct? In the same way, our body is also made up of gross matter. And that gross matter is a combination of 5 gross elements. Okay, 5 gross elements, 5 physical elements, gross elements. The only difference is that here when we say that the gross body is made up of 5 elements, we are not talking about the elements of chemistry, okay, from the periodic table. We are not talking about hydrogen, helium, carbon, oxygen, all that. Our scriptures have divided, like our scriptures say that matter is divided into 5 elements. So, which are the 5 elements? We all know them. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi. Akasha means space. That is the most subtle of the 5 elements that we are made of. Okay. Vayu means air. Agni means fire. Jalam means water. And Prithvi means earth. So Shastra says that the gross body or Sthoola Shareeram is made of gross matter, which in turn is made of these 5 gross elements. And in Sanskrit, these 5 gross elements, the 5 gross elements are called Sthoola Panchabhutani. They are called Panchabhutas, right? We always say Panchamahabhutas, right? It's a very popular term, no? Panchamahabhutas. We are all made of these Panchamahabhutas. So Akasha, Vayu, Jala, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi. Now our body has got earth element in the form of the solid stuff in the body, like the bones, the muscle, the skin. Then our body has got plenty of water, right? Almost 60% of our body is water, the Jala Tattva. Then all our organs also have huge water content. Then our brain itself has a huge water content, right? Then blood, lymph, all the secretions, all the liquids. That is the Jala Tattva. Then Agni Tattva. Our body has got Agni Tattva in the form of the body temperature. 98.7 degrees, whatever, Fahrenheit. That is our body temperature. That is the Agni Tattva. Then all the Agni, like the Jathar Agni, the hunger that we feel, all that is Agni Tattva. So we have warmth in the body. The Agni Tattva gives that warmth. Then the body has got Vayu Tattva. Vayu Tattva, the air element in the form of life breath. And then finally, body has got Akasha or space. Space which is occupied by the body and space which is inside the body also. In between various molecules, the space in the stomach. We feel that emptiness, right? When we are hungry, we feel that's like the space which is inside the hollow of the bones, all that space. So we are made up of these 5 elements. So the material out of which this Sthula Shareeram is made are the 5 elements or the Pancha Mahabhutas, the Pancha Bhutas. And that is the reason the physical body or the gross body, it is called Bhautika Shareeram. This is also a popular term, right? We keep saying that it's a Bhautika Shareeram. The physical body is called the Bhautika Shareeram. Bhautik means that which is made out of the bhutas, the Pancha Bhutas. So Bhautik. So it means elemental, that which is made out of the elements. So gross body, the gross elements form gross matter and gross matter forms the gross body. Okay, just like सारे elements से मिट्टी बनती है, मिट्टी, the earth, clay, okay, और उस so that मिट्टी can be compared to matter, and out of that मिट्टी से घड़ा बनता है. The pot gets made. So the pot can be compared to the Sthula Shareeram. So understood? The gross elements together form the gross matter, and the gross matter then forms the gross body. Okay? So the raw material for the Sthula Shareeram is these 5 elements: Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, and Prithvi. So that is clear. It is simple. Then the next factor that we have to analyze is what are the parts or the components of the gross body. Now, of course, the body has got innumerable components. And if we get into the details, then it will become a study of anatomy, right? We don't want to do that. So for the sake of convenience, Shastra divides the gross body, the Sthula Shareeram, into 4 parts: the head, the trunk or the central body, and the hands and the legs. So sir, dhad, haath or pair. These are the 4 components of the Sthula Shareeram. Okay. So Sthula Shareeram is kind of simple because we can see it, right? It is absolutely pratyaksh to us. So we've seen the raw material, that is the 5 elements. Then we've seen the components of the Sthula Shareeram. Now, what is the function of the Sthula Shareeram? Why have we been given this Sthula Shareeram, this physical body? So the scriptures point out that the function of the gross body is to provide a temporary residence for the individual Jeeva. It is like a rented house or a rented office. Okay. If you remember it like this, no, it is a rented house or a rented office. So then it becomes very easy to understand. The Jeeva resides in this rented house, in this rented office. And residing in this body alone, the Jeeva does all the transactions with the world. If this physical body is absent, we cannot do any transaction with the world, right? When the physical body dies, okay, once we cremate it, once the Sthula Shareeram merges with the Pancha Mahabhutas, then there is no possibility of any transaction with the world. How much ever the person might want to talk to their spouse or children or parents, no possibility, no kind of transaction is possible. So if the physical body is absent, we cannot have any transaction with the world. It is a medium for the Jiva to transact, to operate in this field. Without this medium, the Jiva cannot operate. Okay. So we say that it is like a rented house, a rented property. There's a very beautiful song in Gujarati. For those of you who understand Gujarati, the words are like, Jeeva ne kare che guman re, tare revu re bhada na makan ma. Means, oh Jeev, why are you walking around in so much attitude and so much ego? You have to stay in a rented apartment, in a bhade ka makan, you have to stay. So it's a very beautiful song. Like completely, it absorbs this understanding. So, yeah, so then we say that this gross body is like a rented house. So obviously, if it is a rented property, we have to give some rent, no? We have to pay some rent. So then what is the rent that we are paying for this house, for this office, for the space that we are occupying? What is the rent that we are paying? So the rent is in the form of our previous punya papa karmas. That is the rent. So if we have more punya money, then we get to rent a beautiful property. We get to rent a very healthy, strong body. If we have immense punya wealth, then we can even rent a devta body. And that too for a really, really long time, right? Devta bodies have, like, they get rented for really long time. Like Brahmaji's lifespan, it is unimaginably long, right? 100 years of Brahma is equal to something like 311 trillion solar years. That long a life. So we get to rent such a beautiful Devta body, and that too for such a long period of time. On the other hand, if we have accumulated more papa than punya, okay, then we get to rent an unhealthy or a sick body or a disabled body, or maybe an animal body, a cockroach body, something like that. Okay. So now, based on what kind of money we have, we get to rent that particular property based on the punya papa money. So this analogy makes the understanding easy. So I am using it again and again. Don't take it too far. It is just for making your understanding clear. Okay. Okay. Now, another question is, how long can we get to rent this house, this body? How long? What is the period for which we can rent this body? So simple, जब तक पैसा है देने के लिए तब तक हमको रेंट पे जगह मिल सकता है. So only as long as we have the punya papa money to pay, we get to rent this body. Once the punya or the papa is exhausted, then we will have no choice but to leave the body. We will be kicked out of this body the moment our prarabdha exhausts, the moment our punya papa money bag for this particular janma is exhausted. We will be kicked out of this body, whichever body, okay, even devta body. Krishna himself says that they will be kicked out and thrown to the Martya Loka. Tattvabodha uses the word bhog ayatanam. Tattvabodha calls the Sthoola Shareeram 𝐕𝐞𝐝𝐳. 𝐕𝐞𝐝 means residence. 𝐕𝐞, residence through which all the bhogas are possible, all the transactions are possible. So it is a residence living in which the Jiva experiences all the pleasures and pains based on its karma, based on the kind of rental money it has to pay. So this is the function of the body, to provide a residence, to provide an office space for the Jiva to make all the experiences and worldly transactions possible. Is this clear? Function. Why do we have a physical body? Clear? So we saw the raw material out of which the Sthula Shareera is made. Then we saw the components of the Sthula Shareeram. And now we are clear with the function of the Sthula Shareera. Now we have to look into the nature. That is the fourth factor that we need to analyze. Understanding the nature of the physical body, the gross body. So firstly, we need to understand that this body is of a changing nature. Okay? It is not eternal. It is constantly changing. Every moment the body is changing. And actually it is, okay? Because every moment our cells are dying and new cells are forming, right? They are being produced in our body. So the fun fact to know is that actually approximately every 7 years, they say that you are a completely new person. Every 7 years. Because in those 7 years, every cell in your body is replaced by a new cell. So every 7 years, you are a completely new person. There's nothing in you that was there before. So it is the nature of the Sthula Shareera to undergo changes, to undergo modifications. Okay. And in Sanskrit, these changes that a body undergoes, they are called Vicharas. Vicharas. Okay. And the body, it goes through 6 modifications. Let us look at them. So they are called the Shad Vicharas. Okay. Like the Shad Vairis were the 6 enemies. These are the Shad Vicharas. Shad Vicharas means the 6 modifications that the physical body undergoes. So they are Asti, Jayate, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, and Vinashyati. So which are the 6 modifications? Let's understand them. Sabse pehle, Asti. Okay, that is the first modification. Means coming into existence. Asti. Sanskrit mein Asti means hai, is. Okay. So that is the first modification, right? The coming into existence of the baby in the womb of the mother after it is conceived. It is Asti. It has come into existence. Then the second modification is Jayate. Jayate means it has taken birth. The physical birth of the child. That is Jayate. Then Vardhate. Vardhate means grows. The body grows. Obviously, that's a huge modification, very, very visible modification, right? The growth of the body. So that is the third Vichara. Then Viparinamate. Okay. Viparinamate means the body undergoes metamorphosis. So the fourth Vichara, the fourth modification. So metamorphosis means here, see, the growth has stopped, but only modifications or changes occur. Matlab, up to the age of 15 or 16 or 17, the body grows. Means it is undergoing Vardhate Vichara. It is growing. But thereafter, growth stops, right? After that, the body doesn't grow. Thereafter, it almost becomes an adult body. Now the body only undergoes various changes like putting on weight or losing weight. So that is Viparinamate stage. That is Viparinamate Vichara. Then the fifth Vichara is Apakshiyate. Apakshiyate means declension or decay, aging. When the body decays, deteriorates, growing old, that is called Apakshiyate. And finally, Vinashyati. That is the final Vichara, the final modification of the Sthoola Shareeram. So, death of the body, Vinashyati. The sixth Vichara. The physical body does not undergo any Vichara after this. It is called Nasha or Maranam. Okay. So, all these put together, they are called Shad Vicharas. And hence the Shareeram, the Sthoola Shareeram, is called Shad Vicharavat Shareeram. So, continuous change, continuous Vichara, that is the first nature of the Sthoola Shareeram. It undergoes continuous modification every moment. Now, the second nature of our body, this physical body, is that it is visible for both. It is visible for our own self as well as others, right? My gross body, my physical body, the Sthoola Shareeram, I can also tangibly, physically experience it, see it, touch it. And my gross body, others can also experience, okay? They can also touch, they can also see. So this gross body, the Sthoola Shareeram, is of a nature that it is evident to oneself and it is evident to others also. That is the second aspect of the nature of the Sthoola Shareeram. Now the third aspect of the nature of this body is that it has got a duration of life, a certain longevity of this physical body. We cannot extend it beyond that. Say if we have a human body, then it has a lifespan of like maximum 100 and something years. If it is a mosquito, then maybe 1 day or something. If some other creature, some few hours, if we tortoise, then maybe 200 years. So the Sthoola Shareeram, it has a certain lifespan. And after that, this Sthoola Shareeram, this gross body, it disintegrates. Whether you cremate it or bury it or whatever, however, or even if you just leave it, it is still going to disintegrate and merge into the 5 gross elements. The Bhautika Shareeram, it is going to merge into the Pancha Mahabhutas. It is going to disintegrate. So that is the third aspect of the nature of the physical body, that it has a certain duration of life, which is not very long. Okay? So these are the 4 factors with regard to the gross body. Firstly, what are the raw materials? It is made of the 5 gross elements. Okay, the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Prithvi, Pancha Bhutas. Then, what are the components? The head, the trunk, hands and legs. They are the components of the Sthoola Shareeram. Then what is the function? The function is that it serves as a rented space and allows transaction. That is the function. And the nature of the Sthoola Shareeram is, firstly, it is subject to change. Then it is evident to myself as well as others. And thirdly, it has got a certain lifespan, after which it disintegrates and merges with the Pancha Bhutas. So that is the nature of the physical body. And you know, the interesting fact is the very word Shareeram, means, it is called Shiryamana Swabhavam iti Shareeram or Shiryate iti Shareeram. Means that which is subject to decay, that which is subject to change, that is Shareeram. And even the word Deha is derived from the root Di. And Di means Upachaya, Apachaya, Shareeram. Upachaya, Apachaya means, Upachaya means putting on weight, putting on, like adding something to. So modification, right? If you put on some weight, that is a modification. Apachaya, losing something. So again, modification. So it continuously undergoes modification. It continuously keeps changing. That is the nature of the Sthula Shareera. Okay. So there is still some time, but let me just, is this Sthula Shareeram absolutely clear? It is pretty simple, right? Because it is very pratyaksha, it is direct. Yeah. Any questions regarding the Sthula Shareeram or regarding anything else that we've studied before?
So this is Pankaj.
Hi.
Hello. So if the body renews itself every 7 years, right. So what is, why does some of these terminal disease get caused? If it renews, it becomes anew after every 7 years.
Right. So only the residence, the box gets renewed every 7 years. The packaging material, right? The body, the physical body. The disease belongs to the certain kind of diseases that you're talking about. They belong to the Sukshma Shareeram. They come from the Sukshma Shareeram, which is our next topic. And when we study Sukshma Shareeram, it will be very clear that why certain things are a certain way.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Okay. So I think we'll take up Sukshma Shareeram in the next class. It's a subtle body, so subtler topic. We'll take it up when we are fresh in the next class. Okay. All right. Then we'll end this class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari. Right. Thank you.